see data-driven decisions into two phases. The phase one was more data-backed. This was your classic statisticians kind of roles that people were playing. So most likely these are like things like, hey, I think we tested a campaign, we put a marketing campaign out there. Is the marketing campaign result statistically significant? Or let us say we want to understand what are some of the key drivers of sales in an area. There are some level of ANOVA test or some level of causal analysis, etc., being done, and some attribution being done. So this was that stage of data backed. I would, if I have to put a date, I would say pre-2010, pre-2012, predominantly a lot of companies were operating in this mode. They had, statisticians, they had, core analysts, etc., in the company, but primarily the hypothesis was driven by business or driven by people who own that initiative, and data was used more to validate or not validate it, or to ask a little bit of causal questions, whether what is causing this dip to what is not causing this dip. There is some level of attribution done to what data could do and not could do, but overall it's not a very clean attribution that people couldn't put a number on the the data itself, right? So they could, if somebody asked them how successful is your data organization, there wasn't a clear answer, and even to the question of how much business impact will data drive was also questioned at this point in time, right? I'll give you another anecdotal example here. Like I said, this was fairly the early 2000s, etc. So if I were interviewing for a job, one of the things that people will describe as my job description is, hey, we have a lot of data in our BI BI in our warehouse or in our BI systems, etc. We want somebody to look at that and make sense out of it. We don't know what to do with it. So this was how the job description sounded those days. Today's data science job descriptions are fairly more detailed than that. People say you have to drive X amount of business impacts. It's not uncommon to see data scientists co-owning OKRs in many companies, etc. Right, so that's the data-backed phase that we spoke in detail about. Then this phase is about data-led, right? What I would like to call this as data. This is the data backed phase. Sorry, I forgot to switch the slide. This is exhibits the phenomenon or not, why, recommendations and not predictions, and some level of experimentations. Think about your clinical trials, your classic marketing campaigns, maybe at some level of risk scoring, if not done by large scale machine learning model, but more done with statistical models, very static decisions, and a lot of these decisions had to be also well supported by intuition, right? So for instance, you cannot have a risk score model in which the income is not rank ordering by the risk is not rank ordering by income, for instance. So even if the data says otherwise or the model says otherwise, there was a tendency to tweak the model to suit the narrative that we believe in, right? And hence a lot of the static was helpful but not very attributable success. From here, we move to data-led and human-governed phase. What changed, right? So this is the time, roughly to take it between 2005 2010 kind of thing. Some of these internet companies. I'm sorry, we just lost power here. Am I audible?
Yes, Mathangi, we can hear you.
Yeah, please don't mind. I think the power will come back. Data-led and human-governed is the phase we are going through in this. What happened was between 2005 to 2010, some of these pre-existing internet companies started expanding. There was a lot of data that got collected. Data started being primarily changed. Then what happened was there was also a rapid rapid progress, so to say, in infrastructure which changed. So, and then the sciences came together, right? But the fundamental two things that happened was a large collection of data being available to take algorithmic decisions. Use cases became available, and infrastructure, right? These two kind of things came into picture. The sciences was very algorithmic, which was there from a long time. In fact, even the deep learning models, etc., we see mentions of this in 1980s itself, right? So the sciences and the algorithms were sitting somewhere. Companies weren't paying much attention to it because neither did they have large scale data, not the infrastructure to crunch the data. So the coming together of the three, with adequate use cases, so to say, started making decisions data led. So we do see the incidence of micro decisions, making be it your recommendation engine and things like that, which was more data led. So nobody is writing hypothesis, for instance, saying that people watch certain heroes movies better than the others, and then someone is writing a rule on it, right? It became it kind of the hypothesis itself got generated by data and then learned by data, tweaked by data, etc. A major shift from the previous phase which we saw, which is human beings were writing the rules and data was validating. Even in cases like classic risk underwriting, etc., that is how it happened. Today's risk models in a lot of forward-looking companies, the patterns, the features, etc., these are multitudes of features, maybe hundreds, 500 kind of features, where the model is making a decision on which feature to take and which are not to take. A big deviation from where even the model had to support your intuition kind of thing. Most of these models are non-linear. You can't very easily understand what's going on behind it, etc. So we have come with a shift. The initial forerunners were the internet companies, and then the traditional companies like banks and retail, etc., started following this. So as soon as, however, let's again talk about the initial 2000s, right? So what happened was, in this phase, there was a lot of buzz. So algorithms were used. So Netflix announced this challenge. There's a lot of buzz, and some of these, algorithm-based internet companies like Google, etc. There was suddenly a lot of buzz and created by media, and some of the cases were successful as well. Now this got a lot of a lot of folks into the game without proper understanding of what this field was, right? So from here, what happened was, I would like to take an example of Gartner's hype cycle here, which is, as the immediate technology triggered, got in a lot of interest, and it inflated expectations, right? People thought a bot could do everything. People thought everyone is going to lose job. Now AI is going to take over jobs. People thought, a bunch of departments is going to go away from the company, etc. And then there was also not well supported, investments into AI. People invested in infrastructure. People invested in large data science teams without understanding what they are signing up for. Possibly a lot of people from fresh from academia also came in. There was a lot of experiments done. But because of the hype, because of not being ready to get into the field, there was this peak of inflated expectations that happened, and then suddenly everything dropped, and then there was this whole talk about whether AI is real, or maybe this is all very science fiction based. Maybe this is going to take a long time for us to take it to reality and complete. A lot of people, it attracted a lot of attention of people who thought this was nothing, right? It was just a hype. Now I see into a stage of productivity, and a little bit after the slope of enlightenment that you see here, where organizations are fairly careful in their investment in AI. They know to some level on how to expect the impact. There are leaders in the data science field who have seen the ups and downs of this field. Some people from my generation would have also seen how the initial data backed kind of phase worked, where we were more careful while applying models. We were checking more for robustness, etc. So there is a lot of realization today that it's a field that you use it with proper expectations. You follow proper project life cycle, set the requirements well, understand what is the business impact, etc. So that kind of made this field into a much more stable at this point in time than what we saw as an initial trigger of hype and then extreme suspicion.